We're going to call thank you. We're going to call the meeting for Akron City Council to order. At this time, I'm going to ask if our clerk will read the roll.
Baylor.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Holland.
Aye.
Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
Mosley. Neal.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present except for Mosley.
Thank you so much. Before we move on with our prayer, I'm just going to ask if we can just please have a moment of silence as we continue to lift the Jalen Walker family in prayer as they will be laying him to rest on this Wednesday. Thank you so much. At this time, we'll be led in prayer by Reverend Annette Pitt, who is the pastor of the First Congregational Church of Akron. Reverend Pitt, are you online with us?
I am online with you. Thank you so much, President Somerville. I am the pastor of First Congregational Church, Akron's oldest church, and it is a pleasure to be with you today. I wanted to offer my thanks to our church's council, Councillor Holland, and for this invitation, and to my own residential councillor, Neal, and to the remaining councillors for the opportunity to lead you all. Let us be in a spirit of prayer together. Holy One, known by many names and beyond all names, known in many ways and beyond our knowing. We gather this evening in troubling times that should be strange, but that are all too familiar, as the horror of death sinks like a weight in our souls and as our city reels. Shelter us, we pray, when the cold winds of indifference, suspicion, divisiveness, and narrow self-interest chill our hearts and rattle the windows of our soul. We lift up each council member this evening, as well as our Mayor, Dan Horrigan, Police Chief Steve Milet, our elected officials and public servants, including our policemen and women. We lift up our city's civic and religious leaders. We lift up our community members. Remind us this day and always that those who have the greatest share of authority have also the greater measure of responsibility. We lift up this night the family of Jalen Walker and of Jornay Tolbert. We lift up the family of Johnny Gator and all of those affected by gun violence in our city and our nation. Help us to find new hope, we ask, when hope is hard to find, when we wonder whether we'll ever reach the promised land, and when we cry out in despair and frustration, how long, how long? And lest we pray for peace, O God, we pray for justice, we pray for rightness, we pray for mercy. Grant us, we pray, the strength and the courage to stand up and speak out against injustice, to reclaim this day the mantle of the prophets and ancestors who throughout the ages have led the people toward justice. Accompany us as you did those brave souls who in the face of brutality and billy clubs crossed bridges to demand fundamental rights. Grant us too wisdom and humility, we pray, that we might speak our truth in love, so that we may honor, respect, protect, and care for the least, the last, and the left out among us. This we pray in the name of all we hold sacred, holy, right, good, and true. And the people said, Amen, amen,
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Reverend Pitt, for that beautiful and powerful prayer. At this time, I'm going to ask if Councilwoman Holland would be so kind to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and
justice for all.
The minutes from our previously held meeting have been provided. Are there any additions or corrections?
Motion to
Councilman
approve.
Fusco?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Councilwoman
Second.
Baylor, would you second that?
Second.
Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Abstain.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
The minutes pass 11-0 with one abstention.
Thank you. Before you, you have the consent agenda. Motion to approve. Councilman Fusco?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Councilwoman Amobian, will you second the motion?
Yeah, second it.
Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
The consent agenda passes 12-0.
Okay. We do have 3 items up for a public hearing this evening. Our clerk will read in item number 1.
Sure, we do have a few participants that have signed up. I'm going to bring them in from the waiting room. Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, July 11th, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to place an electronic outdoor advertising display at 550 Dam Street.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the council. The billboard will be placed at the northwest corner of the property. The double-sided V-shaped display would be mounted atop a tapered monopole. Each LED panel would measure 14 feet in height and 48 feet in width. The billboard would reach an overall height not to exceed 70 feet above ground level. The proposed billboard would be located on an industrial property adjacent to highway traffic. Although zoning code limits the height of a ground bulletin billboard to 50 feet in height, allowing an additional 20 feet of elevation would allow for better visibility over existing vegetation, and its minor variance in height would be consistent with other billboards recently approved. The billboard should not impose on neighboring uses while providing an efficient means of communicating with consumers. Both the planning staff and planning commission recommend approval of this request.
Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and open up our public hearing. Dan, our petitioner, are you online with us?
I am. Thank you.
Okay, Dan, thank you so much. Is there anyone else here on the call that will be speaking in favor of this ordinance with you?
I don't believe so.
Okay, all right. So we're just going to ask if you could just please be sworn in by a member of our law department.
You would. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dan, you can proceed with your comments.
I don't have a ton of comments. I'm just here to present to the council our application. I hope it's in front of you, but yeah, at 550 Dan Street, there's a large concrete crushing yard, very industrial use, very remote from any residential homes. So no residential people should be affected. It's right along State Route 8, which is obviously a greatly trafficked route through Akron. We feel like it's a very well placed sign, and we're hopeful that council feels the same. I'm here for any questions that you guys might have, but yeah, I agree with that the report that it's 75 feet is appropriate. There's some other 90 plus foot signs in the area, and then we're just hoping you guys feel the same.
Dan, thank you so much. So at this time, we don't have anyone else wishing to speak in regards to 550 Dan Street. So we're going to go ahead and close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
Thank you. I'd like to pull my committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Gamer?
Aye.
Connor?
Aye.
Baylor?
Aye.
Thank you. The report of the committee is favorable, and we're asking for passage here this evening.
Thank you so much. Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? So seeing and hearing none, the rules will be suspended. Councilman Fusco?
Yes, thank you. We heard the favorable report from our planning department, as well as the planning commission also recommended approval. I believe there was a question this afternoon. I believe that was mailed out in terms of emailed out in terms of the look of this. There's also a number of conditions that the petitioners agreed to. So with that, we're recommending approval this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Gamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0.
Thank you.
Public hearing number 2. Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, July 11th, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a mixed-use development within the White Pond Office Park on the west side of White Pond Drive, south of Frank Boulevard.
The petitioner proposes to develop White Pond Reserve, a mixed-use retail and residential development on 65 acres of city-owned land. The mixed-use portion of the development will be located south of the White Pond Parkway and White Pond Drive intersection. The community building will be located north of the mixed uses, and that complex will include a pool, tennis court, and pickleball courts. On the western portion of the site, 189 townhouses will be built. 91 of these units will be two-story townhomes, with the other 98 units being one-story ranches. The White Pond Office Park has been left largely undeveloped for many years. Developer states that the goal of the mixed-use area is to create an upscale lifestyle shopping center similar to the First and Main development in Hudson. The petitioner has worked with city staff to arrive at a plan that will result in an attractive, vibrant, and walkable community. The Urban Design Historic Preservation Commission, Planning staff, and Planning Commission have all recommended approval of this request.
Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and open up our public hearing. Do we have Randy Parsons and/or Jana Malecki online with us?
Yeah, I'm Randy Parsons here. Thank you.
Okay.
And Jana Milky.
Jana Milky.
Jana Milky, yes.
Wonderful. Are both of you going to be speaking this evening?
We also have the developer, Alan Gaffney, with us today as well.
Okay, perfect. So we're just going to ask all those who are going to be speaking on this evening, if you can just be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All those wishing to speak to this body tonight, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Parsons, do you want to begin?
Yeah, I can. I mean, we're as mentioned previously, this is a a housing development with some ranch units and some two-story townhomes, as well as a mixed-use development at the front of the complex that has both retail in it as well as loft-style apartments on the second floor of those retail buildings. We do have a clubhouse with amenities for all the residents that live in this community, and we feel like it would be a very good add to the neighborhood.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else from your team that would wish to bring forth comments? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So at this time, we will close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
Excuse me, Madam President. We had some people that signed up against the proposal.
Okay. Thank you for helping me. I didn't see that.
Sure, sure.
All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to give an opportunity for those to speak against the proposal. Do we have Jill online with us?
Did you say Jill?
Yes.
Yes, Jill Piscazzi.
Yes, Jill. And I think what we're going to do is all of those who are wishing to speak against this proposal, I'm just going to ask that you please turn your cameras on and unmute yourself so that all of you can be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Folks, if you would please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
I say I don't know how to turn my camera on.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Jill, you can go ahead and proceed with your comments, okay?
Okay, thank you. So I live at the first house on Fairlawn Boulevard on the right past a very small property. And the railroad tracks are there, and there's an access road there that they've used for the gravel pit for many years. Now, I've lived in this area off of White Pond for 53 years. And so, you know, I was wondering if there was going to be like a railroad crossing there where the train would be blowing by our street at like any time of the night. That was one of my questions.
The answer is no.
So they'll block that off?
It will not be used by the development whatsoever.
Okay, because on the diagram, it shows some markings that go from the development to Frank Boulevard.
That's for emergency vehicle access only, should emergency vehicles need to gain access to the backside of the development in a quicker manner than coming in off of White Pond.
Okay, so will they only have one way out, which is C Parkway, this whole development?
We've yet to, yeah, correct. The development will have one way in, one way out currently into off of White Pond. There's a traffic light there for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And another question is, are any of these units being funded by the U.S. government in any
No,
way? No. What would you say would be the approximate either rental or price of these things?
Alan, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, certainly. We haven't quite finalized it yet, but you're probably looking at anywhere from $1,800 to $2,300 a month is the rental price of the units, depending on unit size. Some will be a little lower with the one-bedroom units that we'll have obviously above the retail complex, but we haven't sort of finalized the complete sort of rental rates yet.
Okay, will they have garages?
The ranch units and the townhomes will have garages. Most of them have one-car garage. I think there's a couple with two.
Okay. All right. Let's see. When do you plan to start building this?
That has sort of yet to be finalized as we get through site prep and things like that. But ideally, it would begin sort of next spring to summer timeframe.
Oh, next spring.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, the other big, huge concern for a lot of people is the traffic it's going to cause, because, you know, I've lived in this area. They've widened White Pond. They already accommodate Ohio Edison, the businesses on White Pond. It's a thoroughfare. And then the cars have to, you know, go down White Pond and then on skinny little Frank, which they cannot widen. And it's already, time consuming to sit at the railroad tracks when a train comes. You're waiting at the light, you're waiting for the train, and the traffic even going to 77 can get quite backed up during rush hour. So, that's another objection that many of us have, about this being built, is that it's really going to take a toll on the roads and all the traffic that it's going to cause.
Okay, Jill, thank you so much. We're now going to move.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Christina Fox, are you online with us?
I don't think she has joined.
Okay, thank you. Do we have Pamela and Stephen McGowan?
Hi, yes, we're here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, you can proceed with your comments.
Great, thank you. Well, we had some of the same concerns as our fellow resident. One thing we have concerned with was the access on, Frank Boulevard, because we don't want it to become a very busy area. I mean, there are a lot of kids that live in our neighborhood. We're just on Dow Drive, which is the little cul-de-sac when you come in on East Fairlawn. So just a little bit of ways, just a little bit back behind Frank Boulevard. But, we frequently run and ride our bikes and things, on Frank Boulevard to connect to the other neighborhoods. And, we certainly have a concern about just traffic and safety. Again, one of the concerns was about, the pricing of the rentals. We don't want to have like sort of a bad element coming into the neighborhood. We pay a lot of, I'm sure as you guys are aware, we pay a lot of money in property taxes and also personal income taxes, including prepaying our quarterly taxes. So we don't want to live in a part of Akron where we pay a lot of money and feel sort of like we're unsafe or annoyed constantly because of the noise. I guess one question we had that wasn't addressed was about the tax abatement. Is the city still considering sort of a tax abatement for the properties, or what is, I guess, the status of that?
Okay, so we're going to see, Councilman Fusco, are you prepared to answer that question?
I believe that's better for the planning department to reply to that.
Yes.
Here.
My name's Kurt Mulhauser from the planning department. And yes, they will be eligible to apply for a tax abatement. Any residential unit in the city that either improves itself or new construction is eligible for a tax abatement.
Thanks, Kurt.
Okay, so we're better off building a new house basically up the street from here, away from these new apartments. I saw there was something over on Stockbridge available, and then we could too have a tax abatement and not spend $7,000 a year on property taxes. That's good to know. Thank you.
And yeah, I have an additional question, because I know that a lot of that land is wetland, and I'm not sure how great the foundation is on that. And I know that we've had problems with zoning issues with a property right behind us when they were building and they didn't do their due diligence. And I just am a little weary of what you guys are building on.
Councilman Fusco?
I think that'd be better answered by the developers.
So, Mr. McGowan, I can assure you that from a legal standpoint, we have to take every measure possible to protect the welfare and safety of the public as an architect. And we've had preliminary studies done for the soil investigation already. There will be a final report that is done eventually as the site plan and site development would be undertaken. But we're well aware of the magnitude of additional foundations or additional money that's going to have to be put into the foundations to make it sustainable for the residents of the development.
Okay. All right. Does that answer your question? Any other additional comments?
Nothing.
I can.
I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay.
If I also can, President Somerville.
Yes, Councilman Malik.
Sorry. One of the questions that Councilman Fusco and I have inquired about is the wetlands, and I know that there's a soil study that has been provided that we are hopefully going to obtain shortly, and certainly we'll share that with the McGowans.
Okay, thank you so much. Is Megan online with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So mine's more of a statement. I apologize. So sorry in advance. So I'm Megan Lugo. I'm here to speak about the development at White Pond. I drive by it every day because my children attend daycare nearby that land. And this is more speaking to the observation I have as a citizen about the city selling our public lands. I'm an engaged citizen and had no knowledge until I took it upon myself to look at the agenda this evening to know what was going to happen at White Pond. And it feels like citizens shouldn't have to work so hard and be economically privileged to own a computer and have internet access to be informed about what's happening to land that we also have ownership over. It really does feel like, as a citizen of Akron, that we've been cut out of a process that affects us deeply in a way that we also have very little actual direct control over. And in my own experience, talking with certain city council members, it feels like it's not a process of listening. It's more of a process of convincing us of the merits of developing our undeveloped lands. And I would actually like to call upon, I know this is a big ask and it's never going to happen, but a moratorium, or at least a moratorium on the sale of all public undeveloped lands, or at least a process that proposes a way to clearly and effectively communicate with our citizens what's going on with the sale of our public lands. And that the cities start to actually offer pathways for citizen groups and nonprofits to acquire lands for public use, as opposed to what seems to me to be a current priority to give in, the give lands to private developers or sell them to private developers and interests. We're not, serfs who just till the land and live on it because of the largesse of our city's leadership. We have as much ownership as everybody else does. And given what's going on in our city, I feel it's also important to note that environmental justice is racial and class justice. And I'll just close with these words, but they're not my own, but speak to our city today. And I've made some edits for brevity, which is we're living through an abnormal historic aberration in terms of the way that we plan and arrange our communities. Our pattern of abandoning thousands of houses, building new ones elsewhere, and building redundant infrastructure, all while, in the case of Northeast Ohio, continuing to lose population as a social experiment, is one that is unlikely to end well. In the long run, there's simply not enough federal, state, or local tax dollars to simultaneously pay to maintain legacy infrastructure and deal with continued abandonment in our older communities while paying to maintain and build more infrastructure in our newer communities. We are caught between Scylla and Charybdis. Looked at from this perspective, it is hard to imagine something more short-sighted and fiscally unsound, a greater breach of the public trust, or a larger waste of human labor and natural resources. We're facing a situation that is ripe for a recipe for fiscal disaster and financial collapse. And if that is not scary enough, I would argue that it is also a recipe for worsening social pathology, civil unrest, and civil decay, as people are further segregated by race, class, and socioeconomic status. And that was from the Assistant to the Mayor, Director of Planning and Urban Development, Jason Segedy, written in 2018 on the Strong Towns website. So thank you.
Megan, thank you so much for your comments. Is David Brockman online with us? Okay. All right, so at this time, I think we have addressed all individuals who would wish to speak. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the committee's pleasure?
I'd like to pull the committee for time to refer the item. Kamer?
Aye.
Connor? Connor?
Aye. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Baylor?
Aye.
The report of the committee is for time.
Thank you so much. Time will be granted.
Our final public hearing tonight. Notice is hereby given that the following public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, July 11th, 2022, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. Ordinance authorizing the amended White Pond Drive, Frank Boulevard urban renewal area.
Thank you, President Somerville and council members. The amended White Pond Drive, Frank Boulevard urban renewal area is located in the northwestern portion of the city of Akron and is generally bounded by Frank Boulevard to the north, White Pond Drive to the east, the side and rear property lines of office and residential properties fronting White Pond Drive to the south, and Interstate 77 to the west. The amended renewal area consists of 12 tax parcels and approximately 89.75 acres. In 2006, the White Pond Drive Frank Boulevard Urban Renewal Area was established to promote the development of land within the project area. The original plan has been amended to reflect current conditions and update the original blight study to meet the current Ohio Revised Code definition of blight. Language within the plan has been updated in terms of property ownership and existing zoning. The renewal plan is required to justify municipal activity in the area, specifically the utilization of tax increment financing in the project area. Both the Planning Commission and planning staff recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and open up our public hearing. Brandy Parsons, do you have any comments on this item?
I do not have anything else to add. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We also want to give an opportunity to those who just had an opportunity to speak. Any of the neighbors in the surrounding area have any additional comments on this item? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we will close our public hearing. Councilman Fusco, what is the pleasure of the committee?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to pull the committee to refer this item as well. Kamer?
Aye.
Connor?
Aye.
Baylor?
Aye.
Thank you. The committee is recommending we refer this item.
This item will be referred. We will continue with our old business, planning and economic development. Councilman Fusco.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to request that we take time on 4 through and including 13. And that we file item 14. This is the conditional use for the outdoor advertising at 550, which we just voted on. And time on the balance of the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, time will be granted. Continuing with old business rules, Councilman Freeman.
Time on the agenda.
Time will be granted. That concludes our old business. We'll now move into new legislation.
Item 0 is offered by Mayor Horrigan, President Somerville, Vice President Fusco, and President Pro Tem Freeman. Resolution expressing sympathy and condolences to the family and friends of Jalen Walker, supporting the rights of citizens to assemble and engage in peaceful demonstrations, urging the community to seek peace and to engage in respectful dialogue, urging the city to designate and observe Wednesday, July 13th, 2022, a citywide day of mourning in the city of Akron, condemning acts of violence and destruction and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman,
Committee's report is favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, I know that we have Mayor Horrigan with us this evening. I'd like to defer to him and then we'll hear from members of council. Mayor Horrigan.
Thank you, Councilman and President Somerville and members of council. I have struggled sometimes to find the right words to express really the shock and outrage of our recent tragedy. And really, it's highlighted for me. There is a need for me to build and have stronger relationships, even with members of this body. I know we have disagreed on a number of things, and that is back on me to be able to do that. And as the resolution states, and I know I've said this a number of times, and expressing condolences for Jalen and his family, and really the community as a whole, as it really struggles on a deeply in a profound way about this tragedy. And so I wanted to offer those and continue to try to work on those relationships that I know that we have. I think we have always been, whether it's in agreement or disagreement, I have always had a profound respect for your service to our community. And I think it is ours, and we are its elected leaders at this point in time. Even as we, like I said, may not agree on a direction and a number of things, that does not diminish the respect I think I have for you and your service to our community. And I appreciate that. And like I said, I think it has highlighted for me a significant amount of work to do into those relationships in and around the community. So my connection seems to be a little bit unstable. So I just want to turn off the video so I can continue to hear. So Madam President, thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know that all council members want to have an opportunity to speak. And so I'm just going to ask if you will please just use the raise hand function. Is there any other council members wishing to speak at this time? Just going to ask that you use the raise hand function if you wish to. Councilman Malik?
Thank you, Madam President. And I appreciate the comments that the mayor just made. And also, have struggled to find the words. So I did prepare some thoughts that I wanted to share. It's been 2 weeks now since Jalen Walker was killed by officers of our police department. Since then, our community has been reeling. We have seen gruesome body camera footage, protests, property damage, a downtown curfew, a man being punched in the face repeatedly by an officer. We've seen tragic gun violence that has taken more lives. We're all mourning with the families. We are all heartbroken. I think I can say we're all exhausted. I don't want to suggest what happened is simple. I acknowledge that there was appears to have been a weapon that was fired during the chase. There will be a full investigation. The Attorney General and a grand jury will determine how things unfold with regard to criminal liability. But from a moral perspective, I think that what we've seen on the body camera footage is not okay. This case is far too similar to the 2012 killings of Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams by Cleveland police, when far too many officers joined a police chase. 13 officers fired 137 times into a vehicle. That was a systemic failure. That incident led Cleveland to rethink its practices and policies and culture and training. And I think we need to do the same here. APD is made up of hundreds of public servants, many folks I know personally and respect. But the killing of Jalen Walker and some of the reaction to it, some of the reaction to the protests, I think reaffirms that there is needed policy change and culture change within the organization. This is something that Akronites have talked about for generations, from the 1969 report on civil disturbances to the killing of Saul Link Jr. that was documented in the Beacon Journal today, to our 2021 Reimagined Public Safety Report, to the recent Mayor's Racial Equity and Social Justice Task Force report. And there are a lot of recommendations from our Reimagining report that deserve to be revisited, like investing in foot and bike patrols, creating pathways for youth in our community to become officers. I know how passionate Councilman Plesko is about that. One of the key recommendations that has come to the service time and again is finding ways to strengthen civilian oversight and accountability that operates independently from the police department, from city administration. This is not only a frequently discussed idea locally, this is a national best practice. Across the country, civilian review boards oversee professional staff like our police auditor. They investigate misconduct and levy discipline. They proactively make sure that policies like our traffic enforcement policy or our police chase policy, they make sure that these policies are up to date and that they're acceptable to residents. In Columbus, they put this on the ballot in November 2020. In Cleveland, they put this on the ballot in November 2021. And now they have one of the strongest civilian review boards in the country. We can do that here. We are sadly not immune from the problems that other cities are facing in this regard. We are not above the solutions either. I'll speak plainly. There have been many recommendations around strengthening police oversight, and what has been missing is a sense of urgency around it. So tonight I'm asking that we can be a leader on this issue. We can create a strong, independent civilian review board that can combat racial disparities, that can strengthen accountability for wrongdoing, that can build community trust with law enforcement, and that can reimagine the ways in which we all together create safer communities. In the weeks and months ahead, we as a community are going to have to reckon with the killing of Jalen Walker. We're going to have to figure out how to chart a path together. Folks are heartbroken. They're increasingly divided. They're frustrated. Some are hopeless that real change will come. And I really, really believe that this time must be different. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Councilwoman Amobian.
Thank you, Madam President, and I certainly concur with most of the comments I've heard. I never thought that we would in Akron see this kind of activity, and I would never understand how you execute pursuing someone for a traffic violation and fire 90 bullets. It doesn't make sense. It never has and never will. I hope that we can, in the next few weeks, look at our policies and suspend all of those that really something like this should never, ever happen again. A traffic violation, especially when the person left the vehicle, you could have looked for that person's family the next day to find the individual and serve them with a ticket if you needed to. To fire bullets, it made absolutely no sense. And I just would never understand this. And my heart and thoughts and prayers certainly go out to the Walker family. But I hope that we can do more than just talk and truly put some policies in place that we can utilize that would make this community safe for everyone. Again, I think we have seen this in other communities, but again, I never thought we would see it in Akron, Ohio. And I do believe that, I think for the most part, we have responsible officers. I don't want to condemn our police force by any stretch of the imagination, but I am deeply troubled by what I saw on the video. And I just don't see how we could ever justify that kind of activity. I know on Wednesday, there will be a celebration of his life at the Civic Theater, and I hope and pray that people will conduct themselves peacefully and solemnly and do the things that the family has asked them to do in terms of respecting them and their loss. I haven't decided if I'm going to attend, but if I can get away, I might be there, but I'm not sure. But at any rate, I am deeply troubled by what I have seen and heard. And also, I want us, and I did talk to an officer the other night. I'm assuming he called all of council or someone from the police force did, about allowing people to protest peacefully and keeping a distance unless there is some property damage or some type of violent activity. Other than that, people should be able to express themselves. And I realize we still have this 10 o'clock curfew in certain parts of our city, which is okay, I guess, until the temperature dies down some. But again, I am keeping the family in my thoughts and prayers. And we will certainly need to review our policies around, particularly around traffic violation. It should never come to anything like this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Holland?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to thank the primary sponsors of this resolution, which so eloquently speaks the hearts of so many, both on City Council and in the community. And there are so many other words that have been said, and so many more that still need to be said. A lot of hard conversations that we must have. And tonight, I'd like to encourage us as council as a whole to join in the sponsorship of this resolution along with the mayor. And I'd like us all to hold in our hearts the Walker family and our community as we move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Neal?
Thank you, Madam President. I understand this resolution and why it's coming in, but I do have some just troubling in my spirit in regards to when I think of over the years, the loss of life in this city. All last year, and not just too long ago when we had a mother, an aunt, and a grandmother, I think, come down about the young man killed on Wall Street. I understand this is horrific because it was at the hands of those who are here to serve. But I hope I speak for council when we express our sincere condolences to those parents who have lost children and we did not speak out. We did not take a day of mourning. I'm not criticizing, but I just got to speak my truth. I know the Walker family. I knew Jalen, grew up with his father and his uncle, but I think they feel the same. I want to share to the community that's been protesting. I understand you have the right to protest, but where's the anger about the killing that's going on in our community when it's not done by Blue? We have to show the same type of energy in demanding for change and accountability and for the names of those who have done it. Even if we have to do it by ourselves, I appreciate all those who are doing the work. But I know I'm speaking not just from the conversations I had, I know there's others that are perplexed about why is it we rise up when it's just the blue, but we've got this thing in our community we've got to deal with. And I look forward to working with people there. And as we say, people have the right to protest. We've got to allow our protesters to speak their truth. But at the same time, council, we've got to allow those who are in uniform to speak their truth. I remember when Chief Ball spoke his and said he was angry. Members of council got upset. And it led to him being dismissed. Nothing against Chief Mallette, like Chief Mallette. I hope if he gets to the point where he has to express his, and not that he hasn't expressed his true feelings, but where he gets to a point where he has to just vent and express his anger, that we understand, you know what, that is at the point where we could really start to heal. You've got to give people a chance to speak their truth. So as the resolution that's before us, talking to the FOP, I want them to speak their truth because it's been too much political correctness taking place right now. And to this council, just as we can look at the videotape and see the shooting, I urge us to go back and look at the videotape of how we address issues around gun violence when it's come either in legislation, how we've addressed issues regarding getting training for equitable policy or engaging, be it the administration or the FOP or getting equitable training for ourselves. Because if we had did that heavy lifting back starting when George Floyd amplified it. Of course, in our city, we knew before that because we had already got the Brookings Institute report. Maybe, just maybe, we would have started those conversations where folks would have looked at Jalen differently. Because I guarantee you, when you have a relationship with the community, you engage it differently. So again, I understand this resolution, but I want to let those who just lost their lives this weekend, who haven't lost their life but have been severely injured by gunshot, and all those from going back all through last year, and especially for the parents that just came down to pour out their hearts to us, that we feel your pain as well. And I'm hoping that as council, we can allow not just the community, but our officers in blue and each other to speak truth so we can move forward and really address this issue. Because bottom line, the policy is going to come from this body. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Neal. Are there any other comments coming from any other council members at this time? Again, just going to ask that you use the raise hand function. Okay. All right. Councilman Malik?
I just want to note that I think my colleague, Councilman Holland, made that motion for mayor and council as a whole.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Also, I just wanted to just bring forth a few comments myself. First, of course, always just giving condolence to the family of Jalen Walker. Definitely do have them in my prayers. We are facing a crisis here in the city that was brought about by a horrific shooting death of Jalen Walker by APD. And to watch that video is heart-wrenching. It breaks my heart as a mother. I cannot even imagine. But it was also very difficult for all of us, or many of us, to watch protesters being assaulted and punched in the face by Akron police officers as well. And so I did have the opportunity to reach out to the mayor and to the chief and just really express how disappointed that I was to see those images, and really asking them to make a statement to say that that is unacceptable. And it should not be condoned. And so I want to say that because it was unacceptable. I was embarrassed, and that is not the type of behavior that we should see from our Akron police officers. I also want to say that there has been a sense of urgency to address this issue. I want everyone to know that, council had been doing this work in terms of police reform a year ago, right? And that work was really birthed out of the tragic death of George Floyd, right? We began to look and see what was happening in other places of the country, just hoping and praying that it never happened here, but making sure that we looked at some of the things that we had on the books and looking at some of our practices and seeing what we could do to make sure that if in fact we were ever in that type of a situation, that we would be able to be as transparent as we possibly could, get information out to our residents as quickly as we could. And we did that. And we made history in that, as we are the only city, right, that has changed its charter to make sure that, body cam footage will be released to the public, no matter who the mayor is, no matter who the chief is. And so, again, that was placed on the ballot, and you all as Akron residents, voted on that overwhelmingly. We've also put together a committee, Reimagining Public Safety, and I heard Councilman Malik just reading off some of those recommendations and conversations that we had. We know that there is much more work to be done. And I think this body is committed to doing that, having those conversations, looking at policies that we have on the books, looking at best practices around the country. And so what we want to do is we would like to hold a Reimagining Public Safety Committee meeting often, right? So that we can begin to have those conversations, so that we can begin to look at what we can do to make sure that the situation that happened to Jalen Walker will not happen to anyone else. And lastly, a part of our resolution is really identifying Wednesday, July 13th as a day of mourning. And I want to say that I heard Councilman Neal, again, there was not enough space on the paper, right, to be able to list, all of the lives that have been lost to gun violence. And that's why it's so important for us to pause on Wednesday, right? Because we need the ability to process the tragedy that's happening in our community. We also need time to help us heal and move through our grief. So we're hoping to be able to do that on Wednesday, July 13th. We are also working with pastors of all different faiths and religions, and we're hoping to hold citywide prayer throughout the whole entire city. And so we'll make sure that we send that information out to council members so that you will be able to send that information out to your constituents. Councilwoman Amobian.
I just got a couple questions, and I'm not really sure how we address this. But if our law department, working with the chief, can tell us if things like handcuffing someone when they are about dead, if we can discontinue that immediately, if we can stop the pursuit of traffic violators immediately, those kinds of things, can those things be done quickly? Because again, pursuing somebody with all of that workforce for a traffic violation doesn't make any sense to me. I'm just wondering, and I want to give Chief Mallett a little time, but if he could work with our law department and just tell us what is the process we need to go through to stop those two practices, right away, because they just don't make any sense. And I realize that there is a question about shooting a gunshot or something, but traffic violators should not be pursued with 8 cruisers or 16 officers or something ridiculous. So if we could find that out, it would be helpful for me to know as well as others. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And so we're going to begin this work and these conversations on next Monday. So we will be calling Reimagining Public Safety Committee on next Monday so that we can have some more of those conversations, and we'll make sure that we have our chief and those who can help us have some of those conversations. So at this time, Councilman Freeman, Councilman Neal, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am, Madam President, thank you. We have the next round of ARPA dollars coming in, and we've had this discussion many times. For our community to heal, we're going to have to bring resources to support those who are in the communities that have been most impacted by this. These dollars were created for the increase in violence in the communities as well. I would hope that as a part of our council's resolve to really address this issue, that we look at equitable funding for areas that have been most adversely impacted. That was a part of it. And we've had other discussions where we said, we know where the high crime areas are. We know where extra support has to go. And we've talked about creating community ambassadors to work with our police on low-end service calls, but not just that. We need to create an infrastructure that helps restore trust and relationships between our safety forces and the community. And so it's my hope that as we start these discussions next week, that, they say you could tell where your priorities are by where you place your pocketbook. I'm hoping that we put funding behind this so that we support those in the community that are going to be working with us to help restore our community.
Okay, thank you so much. I am asking as the sponsor, hopefully that we can get a motion for mayor and council as a whole.
So moved.
Second.
We have a second. Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This resolution passes 12-0. Item number 1 is offered by Mayor Horrigan. Ordinance authorizing an agreement between the Akron Fire Local 330 Bargaining Unit and the City of Akron regarding employee wage increases and benefit changes through calendar year 2024 and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Freeman.
Committee's report is favorable. We're asking for suspension of the rules.
Any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Self-explanatory, and we look forward to pursuing this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. Roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Hamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0. Item number 2, offered by Fusco. Ordinance authorizing the service director or his designee to file an application for, and if successful, accept the State of Ohio Brownfield Remediation Program Fund for the remediation and demolition of the Firestone 1200 building and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Thank you. The report of the committee is favorable, and we're asking for passage this evening.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Yes, thank you. This is applying for and receiving funds to demolish what's known as the Firestone Building 1200. And we had heard this afternoon in committee that there is a potential developer awaiting for that demolition. So hoping we will receive this grant from, I believe it's the state of Ohio, reference the state of Ohio Brownfield Remediation Program Fund is what we're hoping to attract. And so with that, we're recommending approval this evening and hoping we get that grant.
Thank you so much. The committee's report is favorable. The rules have been suspended. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0. Item number 3, offered by Fusco. Ordinance approving the transfer of city-owned property pursuant to the city's Mo-to-Own program in order to facilitate the productive reuse of the property and to reduce the cost to the city and the taxpayers in maintaining vacant lots, determining said property is not needed for public use and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 4, offered by Mayor Horgan. Ordinance amending and/or supplementing Title 11 Business Regulations, Chapter 111 Regulations Governing Specific Businesses to enact Article 37 as short-term rentals, to create procedures for the registration, regulation, fees, and enforcement of short-term rentals in the city and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
The request of the committee is refer this item. I ask council to please review this in detail. This is reference the, excuse me, the guests that short-term rentals, sometimes known as Airbnb. And so we will be taking our time on this and going through it cautiously, as it will affect every neighborhood in our city. So, and if you do have questions, please bring them forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This item will be referred.
Item number 5, offered by Fusco. Ordinance creating a short-term rental registration tax, amending the city's tax code to unify all current taxes under one chapter and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco.
Thank you. Refer this item, and this would be the tax piece of that short-term rental legislation that we're looking over. So we're requesting time on that, and again, asking everyone to please look it over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That item will also be referred.
Item number 6, offered by Kamer. Ordinance levying special assessments for the improvement of 4th Street between the termini of Maryland Avenue and Kenmore Boulevard by paving, grading, constructing and reconstructing curbs, concrete sidewalks and driveway approaches, installing roof drain pipes and planting trees and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules this evening.
Are there any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you. Basically, this is to levy assessments for the construction project that was done to 4th Street. Thanks.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0. Item number 7, offered by Kamer. Ordinance declaring the necessity of, determining to proceed with, and levying special assessments for the improvement of property located at 153 to 165 South Main Street, parcel number 6755901, by reconstructing and repairing a vault, all in accordance with a petition submitted by the property owner and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules this evening.
Any objections on suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
This is to levy another assessment to a property owner that applied for this construction project. Thanks.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Abstain.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 11-0 with 1 abstention. Item number 8, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to enter into an agreement or agreements for the purchase of the construction of the airport FBO hangar roof replacement project and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 9, offered by Kamer. Ordinance declaring the necessity of, determining to proceed with, and levying special assessments for the improvement of certain streets in the city by constructing, reconstructing, and repairing concrete sidewalks, driveway approaches, curbs, retaining walls, and installing roof drain pipes, all in accordance with petitions submitted by property owners under the 2020 citywide sidewalk program and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules this evening.
Are there any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing and hearing none, the rules have been suspended.
Thank you, Madam President. This is obviously our 2022 sidewalk program. A lot of us are huge advocates of the sidewalk program, and this is to move forward with assessments to any property owners. Thanks.
Thank you so much. The rules have been suspended. The committee's report is favorable. All in favor, roll call.
Baylor,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Freeman,
Aye.
Fusco,
Aye.
Holland,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Lombardo,
Aye.
McKittrick,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Amobian,
Aye.
Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 12-0. Item number 10, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for construction of the Riverside Sewer Separation Rack 34 project and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 11, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a sponsorship agreement with the Claremont Soil and Water Conservation District for the Lower East Fork Stream Restoration and Stabilization Project and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you. Consent agenda, please.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 12, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract after publicly advertising for bids for construction of the Lower North Side Interceptor Lining Project and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you. Consent agenda.
This item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 13, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for a water pollution control loan fund bond, sign all documents for, and enter into WCLF agreements with the Ohio EPA and OWDA for the construction of the Lower North Side Lining Project and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer.
Thank you. Consent agenda.
This item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 14, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for construction of sanitary sewer reconstruction 2021 small diameter lining and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer,
Thank you. Consent agenda.
this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 15, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for a water pollution control loan fund bond, signed all documents, and enter into WPCLF agreements with the Ohio EPA and OWDA for the construction of the sanitary sewer reconstruction 2021 small diameter lining project and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer,
Thank you. Consent agenda.
this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 16, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee, after publicly advertising for bids, to provide services to scan water service cards to import into OnBase and GIS and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer,
Thank you. Consent agenda, please.
this item will also be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 17, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply, accept, and expend funding from the FY 2022 OCJS Law Enforcement Recruitment Program from the Ohio Department of Public Safety for hiring, research, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer,
Thank you, Madam President. Consent agenda, please.
this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 18, offered by Kamer. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply, accept, and expend funding from the FY 2022 OCJS Law Enforcement Recruitment Program from the Ohio Department of Public Safety for a test preparation program and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer,
Thank you, Madam President. Consent agenda, please.
this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item number 19, offered by Councilman Neal. Resolution urging the Fraternal Order of Police Union Lodge Number 7, the Union, the City Council, and the City of Akron to engage in ongoing discussions regarding racial equity as it relates to police practices and use of force incidents within the City of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer,
Thank you, Madam President. Committee request time.
time will be granted. That concludes our new legislation for this evening. We will now go to the portion of our meeting that we refer to as our public comment period. I know we have quite a few individuals who have signed up, so we're just going to give a few minutes just to allow our participants to come into the room, if our clerk will let us know.
Okay, all those that were in the waiting room have joined the meeting.
So all those who are planning on speaking during our public comment period, just going to ask that you turn on your cameras and unmute yourself and be sworn in by a member of our law department.
Good evening, everyone. If you wish to address this body, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
I do.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're going to begin. To all our participants, you will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. We are going to start with John Sharp. Is Mr. Sharp online with us? Apostolette? Apostolette, are you online with us? Is Paul online with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Paul. Thank you.
Hello, council. My name is Paulie Giulianotti, and I'm a member of Next Steps Washington, founded by Fred and Annalisa Thomas, parents of the late Leonard Thomas. Today, I speak out against the unlawful and unhinged police murder of Jayland Walker. I voice my support for Walker's family and loved ones and those fighting against police violence in Akron and in Ohio. The videos have shown the world that the Klan is clearly alive and well here in Akron, spelled with 3 Ks. And this council has shown itself to be lockstep in line with the most conservative alt-right factions in law enforcement. The council's memorandum gives lip service to sympathy, talks a lot, but says nothing. By declaring an emergency and curfew, the city expands police powers, paving the way for even more police violence. I concur with the demands of the local chapter of the NAACP. The Ohio Attorney General should ensure a fair, transparent, and accountable investigation into the police homicide of Jayland Walker. No member of the agency involved in the shooting itself should be involved in the investigation, no exception, otherwise it's a conflict of interest. This council has failed to take substantive action to abate the crisis, and so I call upon the FBI and Justice Department to investigate the Akron PD and the city for systemic violations of constitutional rights, and if necessary, enter the city into a consent decree. Your behavior can be expensive, council, and it's taxpayers that will pay the price. I question every part of the law enforcement story, and there are more holes in the police story than they put in Jayland Walker. The tenuous claims of a flash of light from the vehicle and the supposed motion of Walker's arm, all of which have little to no evidence. The false narrative and speculation forwarded by law enforcement in the media to malign the victim and taint the jury pool. Gag your department now. What the videos show is a firing squad, a shockingly unnecessary use of force in which one of your own officers repeatedly shouts out cease fire, waving his hands to signal to his officers, but the rain of police bullets continues on. So many bullets that smoke rises from his clearly dead body. Officers had to move out of the way in order to avoid crossfire. One moment. And let me be clear, I have no faith in the evidence presented by the Akron officers, the supposed claim of a gun in the car. Is this weapon planted evidence, counsel? Because the police know that without that gun, they have nothing. And let me be clear, it reminds me of the case of Shay Taylor killed by the Seattle police, in which law enforcement did plant a weapon after the fact to justify the use of force. Unlike your reference, I don't pray for your police chief, but instead call for his resignation. And to all the impacted families and community members fighting for justice, people and organizations across the country and across the world support you. And remember, never stop fighting, because there is no statute of limitations on murder. Thank you, counsel.
Thank you so much, Paul. Is Ben Gifford online with us? Ben, is that you? I think you're on mute, though. Ben,
Okay, sorry about that. I was trying to get back to the window.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thanks. My name is Ben Gifford. I'm with Akron DSA. First, I wanted to briefly respond to comments made earlier by Councilman Neal. The specific anger toward cops comes because the city trains and employs them, and the state protects them when they maim and kill. So it is not the same as violence by private citizens. Mainly, though, I want to talk to you all tonight about police abolition, which the Akron organizers called for in Thursday's press conference at Freedom Block, and I would like to see us on that path. Akron is John Brown, who we now know was on the right side of history, and likewise, we can be on the right side of history. We have the national spotlight on us, and we have a real opportunity to end cycles of poverty, state-sanctioned violence, and racial injustice, and to show the nation and the world that we can accomplish what we can accomplish when we come together and put human life and well-being above law enforcement and carceral systems that are at their core racist, punitive, escalatory, and violent. Now, that doesn't mean all cops as individuals are those things. What it means is that we have built and need to unbuild systems that teach, foster, and even encourage and codify these awful traits. After all, US policing grew out of slave patrols that captured or killed runaway slaves. And we're still dealing with a 13th Amendment that never actually outlawed slavery, just shifted it to prisons. I know abolition sounds scary, but it does not mean crime is permissible. It still means having consequences and accountability. It does not mean any one thing, but abolition might mean having a separate call line for mental health crises where social workers respond instead of police. Abolition can mean asking questions like Councilwoman Amobian is. Why are we, the city, paying cops to drive around late at night and pull people over for something like a busted taillight? Does that make us safer? And is it a good use of resources? Hell no. We all want to be safer, but the fact is cops can't prevent crime. They can't predict the future. If they prevented crime, we'd be extremely safe with all that we spend on them. Cops can't even effectively remit justice. During the last 50 years in the US, only about 11% of serious crimes resulted in arrests, and only about 2% ended in conviction. So how do we actually make ourselves safer? First, we need to make sure residents have their basic needs met. Adequate, stable housing sure makes you safer, but in a historically redlined city with alarming eviction rates at present, we have many impoverished residents, and the city is failing them. It's all related. When you make policy decisions that place owners and landlords over vulnerable workers, you create the conditions for crime. And when you choose to generously fund the police over the community, you create the conditions for crime. We need to rethink the resources that we are spending on cops and start to allocate them to programs that help the community. It's not an overnight thing. We need good research. Let's look at what other cities have done, and we need strategic planning. I'd also like to just quickly correct the record. Mayor Horgan, you called violent protesters to your house. They were not violent. They were peaceful. You were gaslighting.
Thank you so much, Ben. Is Fran Wilson online with us?
Yes. I just left City Hall where so many of our neighbors were standing outside of the People's Hall, demanding justice and long-term accountability. You all were not there. This meeting is virtual. You all should have been there. We all should be there right now. Jalen Walker should be alive right now. Peaceful protesters should not have been beaten by Akron police. Peaceful protesters should not have been pepper sprayed by Akron police. Peaceful protesters should not have been tear gassed by Akron police. I should not have been tear gassed 3 times by Akron police for peacefully protesting. This is a legislative body. It is beyond time to legislate, to abolish practices and codes that kill and dehumanize and brutalize our neighbors. You have seen the list of demands that our local organizers have put together. A lot of thought, decades of organizing and community building have come into those demands. It is time to listen to locals who are on the ground, because Black Lives Matter, and they should matter in our city code and in our budget. We need justice for Jalen Walker, and justice is overdue for far too many people. Organizers will keep on organizing, working and building this movement until accountability actually means something, until Akronites are free, and until there is justice for Jalen Walker. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Alyssa Figueroa.
I've got a bunch of people in a room together. My name is Alyssa Figueroa. I live at 1725 Redwood Avenue. I am the co-chair of Akron DSA, and I am here today to speak regarding 2 specific demands that our organization, Freedom Block and Serve the People, have made following the murder of Jalen Walker. An end to the police chases and an end to minor traffic stops. These are tangible changes that the community is demanding that have occurred in other communities and can save lives, not just those of the people who would be stopped, but others in the community. We know minor traffic stops are a pretext for the brutalization of Black and brown people. If council is serious about addressing racism, then council must do something. Firing 90+ shots in a residential area is not public safety. Bringing out military vehicles to protect property from nonviolent protesters, I want to make that very clear and reiterate what Ben said, because we showed up with pieces of paper, is not safety. I am interested in my city putting resources towards building a safer community, and looking at the budget, we are not prioritizing safety or the well-being of our community. I am demanding council use their power to end police chases and minor traffic stops immediately. No more task forces, no more talking. No justice, no peace means we will not rest.
Okay, thank you so much. Is Lisa online with us?
Can you repeat that?
Lisa, Lisa, are you online with us? Okay, we'll come back. Heather Hillenbrand.
Hi, I am Heather Hillenbrand. I am a Ward 1 resident at 657 Acton Road. I'm a proud union lunch lady and the executive board member representing Akron for SEIU Local 1 a fighting union, fighting for racial justice. I am an Akron DSA member. I support all 12 demands of the Akron Community Coalition, and I am horrified by the actions of the Akron Police Department. I am asking you on City Council to do something about it. You have the power to make legislative changes in the city right now. When APD chose to chase Jalen Walker from North Hill to Firestone Park, miles through our streets, our neighborhoods, and then shoot him more than 90 times, they were imperiling our entire community. We all know that Jalen Walker's life was destroyed by 63 bullets, and officers chose to pull their triggers over and over again. I can't imagine how anything but killing them could have been on their minds. And we must hold them accountable immediately by removing them from the force. You also must legislate the end of police chases. APD risks the lives of everyone who lives and works in Akron when they chase our neighbors through the streets. What if a worker getting home from a late shift had been hit by a car? What if more than 90 bullets unloaded had struck a teen in the neighborhood or gone through a family's window and hit a child? What if this incident at a major Rubber City employer had happened during a shift change? It would have been mayhem. One man lost his life, and that is too many, and we can never let this happen again. Akron City Council has the power to change the law, and if you don't, we will vote you out next year. I am also asking you to stop further risking our community by policing our protests and putting our peaceful protesters at risk. Police almost struck two of my best friends, Akron residents, with an APV, a weapon of war, when he barreled over lawns to prevent Akron Mayor Dan Horgan from hearing from our people. We will not stop demanding justice for Jalen Walker, and we will not stop until our community is truly safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Paranita?
Evening, Council. It never should have gotten to this point. All of this could have been avoided if the city, the mayor, and the police actually did what they were supposed to do. And you would think after all the gun violence that the city has seen over the years, we would have had something done by now, but we haven't. Jalen Walker was brutally murdered by 8 police officers. And instead of firing and prosecuting those officers, they're being protected while on paid administrative leave. People are protesting peacefully to speak out about the injustice caused by Akron Police Department. Instead of allowing them a space to practice their constitutional right, they're being targeted by cops, they're being met by militias and arrested. They're being tear gassed, pepper sprayed, and tackled to the point where some of them have had to go to the hospital. All last week, helicopters have been circling my neighborhood until the late hours of night for hours, as I sit at home, scared shitless as to what might happen. I should not be terrified in my own home because of what the police might do to hurt the very people they are sworn to serve and protect. I should not be scared by those who are supposed to make me feel safe. In contrast, right now, I'm even more scared of the police than I have ever been. Riot gear alone costs thousands of dollars, and cops are in riot gear all over the place in our city. The millions of ARPA dollars that are going to police need to be relocated and allocated and given back to the community. My tax dollars are paying for gear and equipment that APD is using to harm and injure innocent people. I'm paying taxes to a city that I don't feel safe living in. With that, I demand that council pass bills immediately to end protocol of police chases, stop armed militia for traffic stops, and enact safe automobile checks check acts right away. We don't need to take a break. We don't need to have task forces. We don't need to create some more community committees. Organizers have already been on the ground. They already know what needs to be done. They have outlined and told you what needs to be done. We need you to take action right now. We need you to legislate and do your jobs, just so this never happens again. Thank you.
Thank you, Paranita. Stephanie Baker?
Hi. Can you see me? Hi. I'm Stephanie Baker of Akron, Ohio. I'm a member of the community and the co-chair of Akron DSA. I want to be a member of a community where citizens feel safe and do not have to worry that the police will perpetrate violence against them. Today, I'd like to speak about the actions that have come up after the death of Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker was shot more than 90 times, shot at over 90 times by 8 officers for an alleged traffic violation. Shooting 90 times at a human being is unwarranted and a disgusting use of power and demonstration of poor training, even though the community pours millions of dollars into the police training. As a member of the Community Coalition, I support the 12 demands put forward by Akron DSA, the Freedom Bloc, and Serve the People. Traffic violations do not and should not warrant a high-speed chase. I demand that traffic stops for violations be ended and the abolition of police chases as well. Police chases put the entire community at risk when they recklessly careen through communities. I would also like to speak to the protesting that happened over the last few weeks. I am guaranteed the right to protest in the Constitution, and there's no reason that a group of peaceful protesters were met with a militarized police force. I have never been more scared than I was the day when armored SWAT vehicles rolled up behind people walking through the street. We were peacefully walking, and I had to worry that I would be tear gassed, which is forbidden in war zones, but the Akron Police Department has deployed this multiple times in the last 2 weeks. No one should have to worry that they will face Geneva Convention violations in their own backyards. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Woo! Tyler online with us?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Tyler Bohank at 227 Beck Avenue. I've been a member and leader of Akron DSA for 3 years, a member of the community of Akron for 10. A man was lynched on June 27th. That man's name was Jalen Walker. I'm here to remember him and let his family know I am with them. I'm also here to remember the 45 others killed by Akron police since 2002. Our community is feeling so much pain and anger. I am feeling so much pain and anger because the police in our city hold too much power. They wield it over our elected officials and the citizens of Akron. That's why I'm here demanding justice. That's why I'm demanding they be taken off paid vacation they got for murdering us. That's why we're demanding our city represent the working class Akronites over the police. We need you to end all chases. We need you to end the curfew. We need you to fire the director of public safety, Charles Brown. We need you to defund the police. The city budget spends $62 million a year on Akron police while my neighbors face eviction, rising healthcare costs, racist infrastructure policies, and stagnant wages. Enough is enough. We've been lied to. We have the money to update our crumbling infrastructure. We have the money to pay reparations to the families still impacted by the destruction of their neighborhood, to pave way for the desolate inner belt. We have the money to make sure people don't ration their medicine or have children skip meals or families get their lights shut off. But we spend it on tanks and tear gas and paid vacations for murderers, and we're tired. My call to you is that if you can't accept the 12 demands put forward by the community, then you should resign. Let someone who stands with the people take over, and let the people build a beautiful world without police. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Lonis? Lonis online with us? Okay, we'll come back. Ian?
Yes, ma'am. Here I am. Ian Dieters at 287 Store Avenue. The following remarks are not meant to reflect on the propriety of the conduct of the police involved in the Jalen Walker shooting. I also recognize that the demands of leadership are difficult and often require one to choose from apparently difficult alternatives. I feel compelled to question some of the decisions that were made by city officials. Criticisms and blaming the actions of the city, as well as many of my personal attitude, is most clearly displayed by the fact that the meeting being taking place virtually. I cancel the vendors waste time and money in their preparation.
Ian, it's really hard for us to hear you. You're going like in and out.
Oh, sorry. What was the last thing I said, or that you heard rather?
We're gonna back you up, okay? If you can, because you went out the whole entire time, so it was really hard to get your messaging. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Shall I start over?
You can.
Okay, I shall proceed. The following remarks are not meant to reflect on the propriety of the conduct of the police involved in the Jalen Walker shooting. I also recognize that the demands of leadership are difficult and often require one to choose from apparently difficult alternatives. Nonetheless, I feel compelled to question some of the decisions that were made by city officials. My criticisms and appeals come from a place of love for this city. I believe that an attitude of resignation was displayed in the actions of the city as well as many of my personal friends. We seem to be resigned that violence was inevitable in the aftermath of Mr. Walker's shooting, and the best that could be done was to ask peace from the citizens and have a minimal police presence. This attitude is most clearly displayed by the fact that this meeting is taking place virtually instead of at High Street. Consequently, the Rib Fest was canceled, the vendors wasted time and money in their preparation and were deprived of the associated revenue. The fireworks were canceled, a curfew was put in place limiting the movement of free citizens of Akron. Windows were smashed, fires were set, protests were held outside the homes of city officials, roads were blocked in Highland Square, disrupting business operations, and what might as well have been a militia unit walked through Firestone Park. Heaven only knows what will happen next if we continue on this course. The protesters are making demands of the city. What will happen if their demands are not met? And how can one make demands of justice other than a rule according to the law? Will we have to prepare for more unrest? Do we have to accept that the violence and intimidation will follow when outcomes are deemed acceptable by an organized and destructive minority? Can we even believe a report which condemns the officers if it may have been tainted through intimidation? What is the use of a government if it does not secure the protection of person and property? If Akron police lack the will or resources to protect the people of Akron, the citizens will be forced to do it themselves. The citizens do not do as good a job as well-trained security forces, and citizens do not have rubber bullets and tear gas, only real bullets. Hence, undesirable outcomes will increase. The long-term consequence of failing to provide security will be the exodus of citizens and businesses from the community. For why on earth would anyone want to invest in building a business which might be damaged because some people do not agree with the police action? Why would people want to live in an area where what appears to be a militia unit walks unopposed down the street? Because after all, the local tax rate in Medina is 1 1/4. Peace does not result from asking. Peace is secured. Increase the number and visible presence of police until the thought of disrupting law and order becomes an absurdity. The Rib Fest should have occurred. The fireworks should have been on display. Business operations should not have been disrupted. The city should have temporarily increased security until the perceived level of threat returned to normal levels. The response should have been, an investigation into Walker's shooting is ongoing. However, all business in the city will proceed as before. No quarter for lawlessness will be granted. Security will be increased to ensure this. I love this city. We love this city. It is the place of my birth. We all want to see it become greater still. However, this can only happen if people and property are secure. I encourage the council to conduct all city business as normal, unintimidated by threat of unrest, swell the streets with enforcement, and secure the people and property of the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Darren Taylor Collins.
What's going on? How you doing today?
Good.
Yeah, my name is Darren Taylor Collins. I'm just a local citizen upset with everything that's going on in the world. As y'all know, Jalen Walker got gunned down 60 something times with bullets, over 90 bullets shot. That is totally unacceptable. I mean, there's nothing in the world, not an animal in the world, not a person, a thing, nothing that you should target with 60 something bullets. I have no understanding how taxes and all of these things come into play when it goes to talking about a person being gunned down. What I do understand is these guys, that their names, they're out here, they're not out here. We have no idea who these people are. They're still getting paid our money, for murdering someone that we care about. They call it civil unrest. They call it upheaval. They say that we're protesting, but being violent out here. They show the force of military. They bring tanks and AK-47s out on our streets. We have white supremacists who support, the movement and go out and post up downtown and get honks for likes from our neighbors. These are the same people that we work with and we deal with on a normal basis and have to look in the face. They expect us to take this and, be happy and like, hey, everything's okay. When we know for a fact that it was murder. Plain and simple, there's really no other way to put it. When you fire that many bullets into any object, you're trying to destroy it without malice. I mean, you just, I lack the words to say the things that I really want to without raising my voice and or using obscene language. So I really don't understand how the mayor, how the people in power, how the captain of the police force can say that they have really they play like it's not a thing. They be like, hey, it's okay. We're investigating. We know what the BCI is going to come out with. We already know how this works. We have seen it all over the world. It's always been this way. So I feel like instead of doing the normal, everyday run of the mill, hey, let's just let this investigation take it to where it be. Why not get out here and release the names of the people who did this? We're paying for them. Why not fire them? They shouldn't get vacation for murder. I've never in my life, did something terrible at my job and then got rewarded for it. That's just usually not how it works. I stand with everything that's been said when it comes to these things that we need to implement in this in our city. And I apologize and my condolences to the family.
Thank you so much, Darren. Chad Weaver.
Yes, I'm here. Hello?
Hello, Chad. You can go ahead and begin with your remarks.
Okay, thank you. This is Chad. I'm a resident of Ward 3, and I'm a city worker. I would like City Council to explain to me how it is okay that my tax dollars are going to implementing a curfew that puts me and all my neighbors where I live at risk just for being outside of our own house. How is that acceptable? My roommate has driven to work in the morning within the curfew time and has been followed by the police and stopped for simply going to work. How is that acceptable? How are the tax dollars okay being used to have a helicopter flying over downtown and the neighborhoods for hours all day, wasting that money? If you're that concerned about broken windows downtown, have the helicopter land and use all the money that would go to gas to fix those windows. Also, my other point here, how is it okay that the Bearcat that was purchased in 2021 by City Council and Police Chief Steve Milet expressly said with that purchase that the SWAT Bearcat would not be used at all to trample on or stop any peaceful protests in the city, yet it has nonstop been used by that. It has blocked the road on a peaceful march on Saturday. It nearly hit a child outside of Horgan's house on Monday. It was specifically noted by Steve Milet it would not be used against protesters, yet it has been used solely against protesters during these last 2 weeks. So with that said, how are we supposed to believe anything that Police Chief Milet says, specifically about disinformation, when he himself is spreading disinformation by saying that city funds that were used to purchase a $300,000 weapon of war is being used to drive around the city where I live and the streets where I live to terrorize me and my neighbors? How are the tax dollars being used to spend? How's that okay? How is it okay that the police who murdered someone are still getting paid vacation? If I mess up at my work in any sort of level close to that, I would be fired. Yet these police are out here getting paid vacation right now for killing a man my age who's unarmed. It's disgusting the way that City Council has done nothing to do this, has done nothing but say thank you to the police, has issued a prayer in the beginning, standing with the police. Yet they continue to fund murderers that are on the force. They continue to fund police officers that have brutalized protesters at protests, and then will get to work in the city that all us out here will have to then see every day, have to see in our daily lives, who will stop us. And then we don't know if we'll be another victim of them. It's disgusting that the way the city has handled this. Fire all of the officers immediately, adopt the 12-point plan put forward by Freedom Bloc and DSA, and serve the people. That's my time.
Thank you so much, Chad. Is Sarah Swirsky online with us? Sarah Swirsky? Tessa Gaffney? Tessa Gaffney? Is Melanie online with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening, council and community members. My name is Melanie Sarter, and I, like many others, am here on behalf of Jalen Walker. I'm sorry if I speak quickly, but I have a lot to say. To give you a little background, I moved to Akron at 19, nearly 8 years ago, and it's been my second home ever since. I grew up in a small, predominantly white rural town, and I was born into white privilege. And every day of my life, I feel guilty about that because I recognize it puts me at an unfair advantage that I've never earned. So when it comes to the murder of Jayland Walker, it's easy for a lot of white people to say he ran, he had a mask on, we thought we heard a shot, we thought we saw a gesture, but do any of those things justify him being shot at 90 times? If it was your son or daughter, would you be at peace with the reason his life was ended? Jayland was 25 years old. I'm 26 years old. And my awareness of my privilege is me knowing that if I was running from the police, if I was the one who had potentially fired a shot, even with a mask on, it's incredibly unlikely that I would have been brutally executed the way Jayland was. The Highland Park shooter killed 7 people and injured dozens more, but somehow police took him into custody unharmed. The police motto to protect and serve was nationally adopted in 1963, but it urges the question to protect and serve who? The APD did not protect Jayland. They killed him and they proceeded to protect themselves in the aftermath. They set up barricades, instilled curfews. They brought in SWAT tanks and helicopters, used tear gas, rubber bullets, physical force to protect themselves against peaceful protesters. They shot Jayland 60 plus times and then served themselves a paid vacation for their crimes while leaving the Walker family and the rest of the community to pick up the pieces. I'd like to share some statistics from the police scorecard, which if you don't know is a national public evaluation of policing in the US. It compiles data from various federal and state databases as well as police records, and it gives each department a score based on 4 categories: police funding, police violence, police accountability, and approach to law enforcement. Akron's overall score is 42 out of 100. If this was a report card, that would be a miserably failing grade. It also looked at the number of people killed by the APD between 2013 and 2021, and it reports that 8 people were killed in that time frame, which is a higher rate than 58% of all other US police departments. I'd also like to share the APD mission statement that reads, "To serve the community of Akron in a collaborative effort to enhance the quality of life through crime prevention, enforcement of laws, promotion of safety, and reduction of fear." I think it would be wise if they started working on this within their own department because the fear that resides comes directly from the APD. Murdering your own citizens doesn't look like promoting safety. Crime prevention doesn't mean anything when your officers are the ones committing the crimes, and enforcing laws should not be exclusive to people outside of the APD. Taking community members from their families is not an endearing way to enhance our lives. In closing, the 2 coalition demands that I think are most achievable and pertinent are the establishment of an independent Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which, if there's nothing to hide, should be easy to meet, and also the release of all the officers' names as well as them being prosecuted. Because if this was a pedestrian that killed someone, they wouldn't be on paid leave with their jobs intact. They'd be facing murder charges. If the city of Akron has any hope for peace, it's going to begin with justice for Jayland Walker and his family. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Melanie. Brody?
I'm here. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, my name is Brody Kleinite. I live at 1984 West Market Street, Ward 8. The city of Akron has been my home for 10 years since I moved here from Illinois. Over the course of those 10 years, my opinion on law enforcement has changed greatly. My father was a police officer back in my hometown, and as a child, I had a favorable view of the police. But incident after incident, life after life has been taken at the hands of law enforcement, and that has peeled away in my view of the situation. It is not just a few incidents of bad officers, but a system that perpetuates racism, terrorizes the communities it's supposed to protect, and considers itself above the laws that it claims to enforce. That is why I'm speaking here today as a member of Akron DSA and a member of the community to ask the council establish an independent Truth and Reconciliation Commission to investigate Jayland Walker's murder and others killed by Akron Police Department, as well as a Citizens Review Board for the police with subpoena power and members selected strictly by local organizations. Just because these institutions have perpetuated in the same manner does not mean that they're above reproach. Adding more cops, more tear gas and rubber bullets, and more military vehicles to our streets does not make them safer. Civilian oversight, defunding the police, and refunding the community will. Thank you.
Thank you, Brody. Admika Mentor?
Hello. First of all, I want to send out my condolences for the Walker family. There's no excuse for what happened. It was very disgusting. And also, I want to talk about housing because our tax dollars funded those tanks that almost ran us over when we protested for Jayland Walker, justice for Jayland Walker. And that money could have been put into this inhumane complexes in our city, the inhumane complexes in our city. I know y'all held a little committee meeting at the library. It's been a couple weeks, we ain't heard from y'all. So that just let me know that y'all really not doing what y'all supposed to be doing. Y'all not communicating with our communities. While y'all go home to y'all beautiful homes, while we live in infested homes still in our city. I got a mother right now with 3 kids under the age of 5 with no tub, gotta knock on her door, her bathroom wall, to let her neighbor know she's coming in her bathroom because they can see each other through the bathroom. I've been telling y'all about this for the last year, for real. It's been in newspapers and everything about this housing. Y'all have done nothing, nothing. Y'all keep asking us for strategies. Y'all want to sit down and prolong it. We didn't said enough. We didn't told y'all enough. It's time for action. And it ain't just a Redwood and KMG problem. It is a city problem, your city. Y'all giving our tax dollars to these gangs, APD. Y'all funding them our tax dollars when y'all could be putting it into housing and these empty lots that he talking about building sidewalks. Y'all still redlining us with the expressways, spending money on the expressways when y'all could be putting that into housing, building all the homeless people we got out here. Those lots, those empty lots, those empty churches, they could be shelters. They could be complexes. Y'all got the funds, y'all can move this. Y'all can put everything into action, but y'all choose not to. I ain't sugarcoating nothing for none of y'all, no more, because y'all know what y'all doing. I know as long as we stay poor, y'all good, y'all good, but that's gonna change. That's gonna change today. So, like they said, our demands are, I advise y'all, I advise y'all to get with those demands, because the city is not going to rest. And without no justice, there will be no peace. We are not being silent, not about Jalen Walker, not about our housing, because it's inhumane. That was a human being. We are human beings. This is your community. Y'all work for us. We pay our taxes. Y'all work for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Amika. Stephen Norris. Stephen Norris. Is Angela online with us? Jennifer Rogers. Samantha. Is that Angela?
Yeah, Angela Graff.
Okay, go ahead, Angela.
Okay. Okay, so Angela Graff, 65 Orlando, Ward 4, member of the Akron DSA. I demand the following: the establishment of an independent truth and reconciliation commission to investigate Jalen Walker's murder and others killed by the Akron Police Department. This commission will be composed of independent investigators, residents of Akron, and other individuals agreed upon by the community. It is important to all of us, family, friends, and neighbors of Jalen, to know where there will be just investigation and justice for his murder. Abolish the deployment of tear gas, pepper spray, and rubber bullets in City Code Section 3517. These are used against peaceful crowds of citizens exercising their right to assemble. Create a citizens review board for the police with power to subpoena and members selected strictly by the local organizations. The police are meant to serve the citizens, and this will facilitate that. Create a citizen-led commission to study and strategize the defunding and abolition of the Akron Police Department, municipal holding centers and jails, with the consideration of the following: strategize the creation of a participatory budget within the City of Akron operating and capital budget processes. These budgets should directly reinvest funds into reparations, housing, public transportation, food security, physical and mental health care, and community-controlled public safety alternatives. This is going to reduce crime and other activity in which the police are now called to handle, none of which require the need for police. People in need of housing, food, physical and mental health care need support, not policing. Cops do not have expertise in how to handle or offer the support and how to serve these citizens with these needs. So their response is to follow their law enforcement training, their specialty, which is not in service to the folks with these needs. Members must be selected strictly by the local grassroots organizations, including the Freedom Bloc, the Akron Democratic Socialists of America, and Serve the People Akron. These organizations must be the ones to select members and not be appointed by anyone within the government to ensure proper handling of this, to support the needs of the citizens and the local communities. The funds appropriated from the Akron Police Department should be democratically controlled by the people of Akron through said participatory budget. Failure to negotiate on these terms and all those others presented by these organizers of Akron on 7/6/2022 will likely escalate community unrest and unfortunately will perpetuate a culture of violence by the local police forces. Thank you. Woo!
Thank you so much, Angela. Is Jennifer Rogers online with us? Samantha? Megan?
Yeah.
Oh, Samantha?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Samantha Bieke. I'm an Akron resident since 2019. I'm at 190 Castleton Avenue. I came to Akron as a refugee from Congo, a country that has been knowing wars since decade and decade. And by the time I came to Akron, America, a country known for peace and democracy, but is nothing like democracy in this country for the past time I've been in here. The week before, on Thursday, was the most terrible week that I've ever experienced in my whole life. A week that brought fear, a week that brought depression and stress into my life because I relived what is the use of helicopter in our city? What's the use of showing violence toward protesters? These people want to talk to you. There's a difference between fear and respect. These people just need you to calm down. When they voted you, they never voted you into the office, but they voted you to sit with them, to talk to them. You need to calm down as leaders and talk to these people. If you don't want to talk to the mass, you need to talk to the organizers. Come talk to them. Have something on the paper. Talk to them, listen to their concern. It doesn't mean giving us curfew. Curfew means nothing. I'm more concerned about the most recent refugees, the Ukrainian who are just facing it. What is their view? I'm more concerned about the immigrants in our country who don't know English. What are they going through? I'm going through this. I've been here for 4 years. What about the most recent one who don't speak English? What are you doing? What is the use of forming your offices? What the use of being in office? You need to step down. My humble request and my first time being here today, and I don't know if I will ever be here, but my humble request is officers need to step down. Talk to these people. We don't need guns. Gun never solve a problem. You'll never face fire with fire. Fire is faced with water. And if you want peace in the city, you need to do that. But by coming down with war, coming down with guns and any kind of violence, it won't solve anything. I have experience. I grew up from a war zone area. So my humble request is from the mayor to step down and talk to your people. These people voted you. They trusted you. Calm down, talk to them. You don't need to show them oppression. You don't need to oppress them, but you need to listen to them. Listen to their concern. That's my humble request, because many people are concerned, especially the refugees and immigrants. People need to listen to you. Come listen to you, and you too, talk to them. Listen to them. And that's the only request I ask this night. We don't need fear, but we need respect. We need peace. We came to America knowing we are coming for peace, not to come and face violence, and be reminded that there will never be peace in the world. We need to live. We're just young and you need to experience what peace means. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Is Megan online with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Megan Lugo. I spoke earlier as well. I failed to mention that I am a Ward 1 resident at 45 Mayfield Avenue. Before I speak on what I actually intended to speak on, I must note that while I grew up in Los Angeles in the foothills where helicopters patrolled for bears, and therefore I actually find the sound of helicopters oddly comforting, I actually do not appreciate helicopters patrolling our neighborhood, namely Highland Square, for hours, for what I believe based on my observation and an engaged citizen of this community to be no good reason. But that's not really what I came here to say. I came here to say that, as a member of the faculty of the University of Akron in the Department of Psychology in the industrial organizational psychology area, I hope that in addition to employment contracts that have been developed with our personnel, particularly our police, and we also explore how we manage personnel within our city and police department. Now, I must say, I'm not a representative of my employer. I am not a representative of the Department of Psychology nor the area in which I work, and I do not presume to speak for them. These opinions are my own. Rather, I bring those up to allude to or speak to some modicum of expertise I may have on issues in our city related to policing and staffing. I humbly ask, therefore, as a citizen with a little bit of expertise, that we consider examining officer contracts and any CBAs in place that determine how officers are compensated following shootings. Indeed, I find it concerning that generally in our country and here in our city, officers receive paid leave when they kill someone, something that is odd considering most people in this country do not get paid leave when they birth someone. But I digress. I also want to briefly propose our city take actions specific to the management of government personnel that will enable our leadership to identify and intervene more effectively with individuals who may have ties, affiliations, or affinities for racist, white supremacist, and white nationalist organizations or have adjacent ideologies. The Brennan Center for Justice suggests that white supremacy and sympathetic ideologies infiltrating law enforcement is a major threat to modern policing, though it was likely always a threat. Our city seems to lack a strong system in its hiring, performance evaluation, training, and termination policies that will enable it to identify individuals in possession of belief systems that make them a threat to the communities they serve and intervene with those individuals effectively, appropriately, and legally. At least that is based on my observation, both as a citizen and someone, as I said, if I'm being humble, some level of expertise on how to manage organizations. The city therefore needs to develop a more proactive plan with the assistance of legal counsel for how it can identify such individuals during the hiring process, intervene if such affiliation has been detected after hiring, and appropriately and legally terminate an individual who possesses such ideologies or affiliations. And if the city needs any help in this endeavor, I believe I know some great experts on the subject just down the road. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Beth Vild. Beth, can you hear us? I thought I saw you earlier.
I'm sorry. There are some things going on right now. As you guys shut your doors to us, we came to City Council to talk to you. The police have completely surrounded us. We are blocked in right now in front of City Hall. Let me see if I can get my camera turned around here so that you can see. They have us completely blocked in right now. And as there is a curfew, we expect police violence this evening. We need checks and balances over these police. We cannot keep living this way. We came here to peacefully protest, to talk to our elected officials who we pay your salary, and you have us locked in as the cops start to circle. I expect immediate response right now. Why are you not on your phones talking to the police? What are you doing? Please get on the phone. Please call police. Please tell them to stop blocking us in. Do not circle around us. We are peacefully here. We were sitting in these chairs watching y'all. And now we're completely blocked in. We have Rich Swirsky's wife with us. She has experienced enough loss. She does not need to be tear gassed this evening. We had every intention of clearing out before there was curfew overload. We are being peaceful. And the cops keep going around the block around us, waiting for that curfew to get lift. Or for that curfew to happen so that they can swarm in on us. They have on every single entrance, we are completely blocked in. I am just gonna keep walking and showing you. We are completely blocked in right now. Fox 8 News helicopter can show you if you don't believe me, but we are completely blocked in. There is no way out for us. Again, we have Rich Swirsky's wife with us. She has experienced enough loss. She does not need to get tear gassed tonight. We do not need to get tear gassed tonight. We are under military control. Your boots are on our necks. I expect to see some of you on your phone talking to police, telling them to remove the barricades. Remove the barricades now. Remove the barricades now. Do not put us at risk. This is the largest health concern that we could possibly have in the city, is when we have military control over peaceful citizens in this city. Remove the barricades now. Remove the barricades now. Remove the barricades now. Get on your phones. You all have connections with the APD. It is your job to have checks and balances in this city. I am not seeing checks and balances throughout our entire country right now. What kind of democracy is this?
Beth,
do we live in a democracy anymore?
Beth, and if you can do this for me, if you can deliver the message to those who are outside, there should be someone coming out to make sure that all of those who are blocked in will have the ability to get out. Samantha Overmeyer. Samantha Overmeyer, are you online with us? Samantha? Nicholas Cassiopo? D. McCall?
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead, D.
I find it quite ridiculous that we try to have a conversation with the mayor, we try to have a conversation with city council about the issues that's at hand. And it seems as though it goes upon deaf ears. The community continues to speak and you continue to not listen to us. We are down here right now having a press conference right in front of city council because you all went virtual and y'all blocked us in. Do you know how scary that is? It's people who's been tear gassed and attacked by the cops. And then y'all do this to us. We've been talking about housing issues. We've been talking about how APD murdered an innocent Black man. And then they're putting this false narrative that he was running away from the cops and he was just a horrible person. We have been peacefully protesting. And I just want to help y'all understand, protest means disturbing the peace. So there's truly no such thing as a peaceful protest. We are not destroying anything. There are paid aggravators coming into the city to destroy things. And you're blaming these atrocities on the community members. We live here. We would not destroy our community. This is ridiculous. The mayor, we went to the mayor's house. He did not speak to us. He continues to have these conversations and these press conferences to not address the community. This is just beyond disrespect. We must honor the people of the city of Akron because justice must be served. And if we don't have justice, we take in the city. So I truly advise all of city council to do what y'all have to do because once the community comes out, there's no stopping. And all of y'all are elected officials. And I'll make sure personally that every last one of y'all seats are flipped and y'all will no longer be in an elected position because you are not putting the people first. You are not helping us. I have asked you all to help us within housing. We have begged y'all. We have told y'all what has been happening. What's happening? We are trapped. If you hear it, we're just here. We deserve to be treated like humans. Y'all are treating us as though we're half-class citizens. We deserve our respect. Either y'all listen to us now or y'all feel us. Either way, I need y'all to understand the community is upset. And as elected officials, y'all are not helping us. And the world is seeing this because this is not a local issue. This is a national issue. So when this is truly reflected upon, I really want y'all to reflect on how y'all showed up in the world because this is truly horrible. You should be just, it's just despicable is all I have to say. And you should want to do more, especially if you say you're for the city. But we see y'all choosing sides. We see y'all.
Abigail, are you online with us? Abigail. Natalie.
I'm Natalia, if that's who you're calling on.
Natalia, thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna make this quick because obviously some people are clearly in danger at the city hall. So Anyway, I wanted to leave a comment on the city's loss of Jalen Walker and the Akron Police Department's role in this loss. In less than a year, at least 5 people other than Jalen Walker have been killed as a result of vehicular chases initiated by the Akron Police, including 23-year-old Kira Bradley and 25-year-old Arlo Mosley. It is safe to say that when people in Akron see a police cruiser pull up behind them, they fear for their lives. It is now and has been a documented issue that APD instills fear in and disproportionately harms our Black neighbors. The people of Akron feel the sting of disrespect in watching lines of officers in riot gear watch us through the Justice Center windows while we call for justice, accountability, and material change. We feel the disrespect while we desperately wait for information about our loved ones sitting in Summit, Stark, and Portage County jails, only to find that sheriffs have shut off their phones, judges have declined to come into court, and our loved ones have been packed into cars and dropped off at gas stations around Akron in the middle of the night. We feel disrespect and despair when a 4-year-old and a 40-year-old are shot, and instead of ambulances, the city sends police and SWAT vehicles. Through all of this, our city council is still hearing plans for youth recruitment into the APD, and Mayor Dan Horrigan is still recruiting new classes of police officers. The Task Force for Racial Equity and Social Justice is a good start, but we are asking for more because it is urgent to our safety. We ask that the city of Akron establish an independent commission specifically on the topic of Jalen Walker's death and Akron Police's greater history of misconduct. We ask that the Akron Police immediately cease the use of riot gear, tear gas, pepper spray, noise grenades, and rubber bullets on protesters. We ask that the city of Akron release a detailed budget of all of the funds allocated to the Akron Police Department, including for the use of riot gear deployed on protesters. We ask that the city legislate the abolishment of curfews, vehicular and foot chases by police, and traffic stops carried out by armed police officers. We ask that all of those people arrested for protesting the death of Jalen Walker and all others killed by the Akron Police Department are immediately released from jail. And finally, we ask that the city of Akron create a civilian-led commission to plan for the defunding, demilitarization, and abolishment of the Akron Police, with the currently allocated funds to be reallocated, to be reallocated to improvements in housing, healthcare, schooling, and availability of food. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I know that there were some individuals who came in a little bit later, so I want to just go back. I think I did see Apostolette. Apostolette, I think you're on mute. Yeah, I can't hear you. Yeah, for some reason, Apostle, we can't hear you. I'm gonna try and come back to you. Okay, I'm gonna kind of go through the list just to make sure that everyone who signed up.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, perfect. Yep.
Okay. If I shut up the heavens, if there be no rain, if I send them, if I command the locusts to devour the land, if I send the pestilence among my people, if my people, which are called by my name, would humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then when I hear from heaven, forgive their sin and heal their land. I'm asking, first of all, I want to say to everyone who's been in this meeting this evening that every one of you are in my prayers. Prayer time, not no police time, prayer time. My condolences go out to the Jalen Walker family, and no human being shoots at another human being 90 times. There's no rationale for that. That needs to be addressed. I also have not heard any condolences to that loss of that 4-year-old girl who was murdered over the weekend, as was the 40-year-old man. I'm asking Police Chief Steve Millett, who is my friend, a very good friend to me, he will begin to help me to address this racism and violence in policing. I had come to you several weeks ago and asked that Mayor Horgan would begin to help fund Black businesses. And I had packages I was going to deliver to you all this evening, but I didn't get a chance to. This is where our direction should be on building our communities. Before I came this evening, I got a lot of background echo in my background. I was told that the Coalition for a Safe Community that's held by Attorney John Sharp will be having a meeting with the mayor and the police chief on Thursday, but we women are not welcome or invited to participate in that meeting. And I asked that meeting not go forth because I'm tired of the discriminatory practices against women and children in these organizations. I thank you. I'm a member of the organization, but don't have a voice in the organization because I'm a woman, because women today still need to be seen and not heard. We women do more than lay on our backs, cook and clean up men's messes. And until our voices are heard, no meetings will be taking place with the mayor with an all-male audience any longer. We lost the life of Jalen Walker. We lost the life of a little 4-year-old girl. And before that, Timothy and Melissa were murdered in East Cleveland, Ohio.
I'm so
and
sorry,
there was no political unrest. Thank you, Council President, for everything you're doing. And it's time for a wake-up call.
Thank you. Jennifer Rogers. Jennifer, can you hear us?
Madam President, I can't tell who this person is, but there's a Moto.
Yeah, that is Jennifer. We were just messaging her.
Oh, okay.
I don't think for some reason she can't hear us. Jennifer, can you hear us? Okay, and her camera's gone out now. Jennifer, one last time, we do want to give you an opportunity to speak if you choose to. Can you hear us? Okay. All right, I'm so sorry. It seems like she's having some technical difficulties. This does conclude our public comment period for this evening. We do want to thank all of those who have participated. At this time, we're going to go into our committee assignments. Rules, Councilman Freeman.
2 p.m.
Planning and Economic Development, Councilman Fusco.
1.
Budget and Finance, Councilman Freeman.
3 p.m.
Public Service, Councilman Kamer.
2 p.m.
Public Safety, Councilman Kamer.
2:15.
Parks and Rec, Councilman Lombardo.
1:45.
Housing and Neighborhood Assistance, Councilman Fusco.
Subject to call.
Health and Social Services, Councilwoman Amobian.
2:30.
Public Utilities and Green Committee, Councilman Freeman.
2:45.
Right. Is there anything else coming before council at this time?
Madam President, I just have a comment if you don't mind.
Yes, and before that, thank you so much. Also just want to call Reimagining Public Safety, and that will be subject to call on next Monday. Go ahead, Councilwoman Amobian, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just a quickie. I think I heard someone say something about that piece of equipment that the chief ordered to help when we have a SWAT team situation. They seem to refer to that being part of the equipment that's used to block the streets. If I heard that correctly, that equipment hasn't even come back yet. So I just want people to know that that is not correct if I heard that. But I know that snow plows and those kinds of things are being used, and that equipment is not even available. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Councilwoman Amobian. Councilman Neal? Councilman Neal, can you hear us?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. I'm sorry, my visual has kicked off. Hopefully it kicked back on. I just wanted to say I appreciate our constituents coming out and to share with us. As we reimagine public safety, I know we have to reimagine how we govern as well. If we could get an idea of what wards those residents are in, so that at least those of us that are willing can form strong relationships with those who have been protesting and organizing to help make sure that we're more attentive to their needs in our wards. I'm fortunate in my ward to have Freedom Block, so I get to engage them personally. But I definitely want to make sure that we take this opportunity to really address their needs and engage them as part of the process. Something we could do right now. This council passed putting the city's budget online. It's not online. The budget that's coming is for ARPA dollars specifically. But the general budget, long-standing, we can put online right now. And I appreciate the one sister that came and asked for a citizens participatory budget process. We could do that right now. We could follow the lead of a major city like New York, where we set aside a certain percentage of our city's budget that the citizens have direct oversight over. And I do have a question regarding what we have the power to do. I heard the citizens ask us if we could end certain things like the police chases and what I'd like to ask our law department, what is in council's power? Since we are a strong mayor city, are those things that only our mayor can do? Or does council have any legislative power to enact some of those things? So if the law department can answer that for us this evening, I'd appreciate it. Because our constituents are asking us to take action. Some things may not be within our ability.
Councilman, I'm not so sure if there's anyone here on law that can answer that question right now, but we can definitely make sure that you get the answer. That way you can be able to share it with your constituents, because there's a lot of things that, council cannot do under our purview, but we'll get that information to you, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilman Fusco?
Thank you, President Somerville. Of course, we'd heard that the comments about the protesters in front of City Hall, and of course, they block off the street to protect them. And some of us know that because in other cities, and including Akron, we have seen people drive through protests. We've seen that before. So that's meant to provide safety. So I think that's what that's part of. And of course, President Somerville mentioned that that they do have an exit, of course. This evening we passed the resolution providing sympathy to the Jalen Walker family. We asked that Wednesday be a day of the funeral of mourning. This resolution, and I hope everybody saw this, under Section 2, urge the community to seek peace and to engage in respectful dialogue, and condemns acts of violence and destruction. Akron is a welcoming community, and I believe we've proven that time and time again. We'll continue to improve our efforts on that. Akron believes that all voices must be heard, and we have one of the least restrictive public comment periods within the state of Ohio, right here in Akron. I believe we are one of the only cities in the state of Ohio that provides access for public comment for people at home. We learned from the COVID experience and have blended our meetings in both in person as well as via Zoom. The reason we didn't meet at City Hall this evening was because of threats. And I think we need to make sure that that's clear. It was because of threats. However, though, in our effort to include voices, From beyond City Hall, we have provided access even in-person meetings. So we want to hear those voices. Every ward member conducts monthly meetings. As a result of requests and discussions with the community, the city of Akron has led the nation as being one of the first cities in the United States to provide body-worn cameras. As a result of request and discussion with the community, the city of Akron provides use of force footage to the community after 7 days. Quickly, much more quickly than most cities. Most cities don't even provide it at all. But this was as a result of request and discussion. Results of discussion with the community, we have banned chokeholds. How many resolutions have we passed asking for the federal government to pass reasonable legislation on guns and condemning the state with their penchant to make access to guns more easier? We have heard and seen the demands. However, as elected officials, we take an oath of office. It confines us in terms of how quickly we can move on issues such as what we have seen here. Certainly past legislation that this council has taken up was from the people. I'd like to take a moment, though, to recognize our men and women in the Akron Police Force. I know that this may not go over well in some of the circles, obviously. However, not all men and women in the Akron Police Force deserve to get painted with the same brush. A police officer deals with some of the most difficult individuals in our society at times. I know the majority of the men and women in the Akron Police Department signed up to become police officers for all the right reasons. Our police officers are fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, aunts, uncles, white and black. They work hard to protect us. These officers have families at home. These families, they worry every time they walk out that door if they're coming back, and they're grateful whenever they get back home. Our Akron Police Department, these men and women continue to come in and report for duty to protect us even during these toughest of times in the city of Akron. They're continuing to come in. I believe we all agree that we need to continuously look at our police department, and we have made many changes in recent history. We need to continue that oversight. We need to continue to look for ways to improve the way these services are delivered and to ensure that fairness, equitably, and justice is applied equally throughout Akron. This mission needs to be all of our responsibilities, City Hall and the residents. Again, please believe that we want to hear those voices, to look to seek ways to improve policing in the city of Akron. However, we also need to respect those of us who continuously work to keep the peace on our streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Holland.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Honestly, I don't think I could add a single word beyond what Councilman Fusco just stated. This is such a deep moment of reckoning and such a profound call for reform, for work together, and I mean together. The idea that in this moment of deep pain, that there can be so much shouting at everyone at a time when really the call should be, how can we work together to get this right? So having just said I have nothing to add, I just added, but let me leave with this. You know, I've never seen anything like this before. And I've been around for a minute. I've also worked in the field of equal opportunity my entire career. We keep thinking we're going to fix it, right? But we have 200 plus years of history that tells us we still haven't. I can tell you this much: screaming at each other isn't going to get us there. Working together might. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. Is there anything else coming before council at this time?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion on the floor. If there are no objections, this meeting is adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Margot Somerville, President of Council, presiding.